everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Thursday. I hope your guys' week is going well. Hope you enjoyed that beautiful full moon that we had in Sagittarius. Now it's time to talk all things new moon in Cancer. We're talking all about this particular new moon, why it's so magical, why it's so damn positive and optimistic, and how to kind of navigate the path forward. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button if you want to be alerted as to when I have new videos coming out. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Leave me a comment below also and let me know what you guys are feeling with this week's vibes. Maybe it's going to give you some insight after some of those squares to Saturn and Neptune as to where exactly we're going to be setting these new moon intentions. And follow me on X if you guys are on X at BTV Astro. And if you guys need some assistance and help, if you're in your Saturn return, if you have natal planets in Aries, check out my latest webinar on Saturn Aries, my Saturn Aries boot camp. Over 2 hours of lots of insight, information, predictions, as well as tips and tricks on how to navigate this 2.5-year transit. Click the links below in my description if you would like to pick that up while it's on sale on my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. All right, well, today we're talking all things new moon. I feel like I've hyped this new moon up quite a bit. I've talked about it a lot the last couple of weeks. I think it's one of the best new moons all year. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to break it down. And it's coming in on June 25th, 2025 at 4 degrees of Cancer. So it'll be conjunct Jupiter, an exalted Jupiter, and now that we have Jupiter in Cancer. However, it does face some squares to Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries. So if you guys didn't catch my video on Tuesday about the Saturn-Neptune square, check that out. It'll give you lots of insight as to how to prepare for the end of the month when we have this new moon come in. Now, new moons are obviously a very potent moment where we have like a reset. This one I feel like is really dripping with a lot of emotional depth, obviously, and lots of potential. So we'll explore today what a new moon means. We're going to talk about why this is so significant in this particular sign. Lots of Cancer themes kind of come into it. And we're going to talk about the aspects that are going to be lighting up the sky and how this particular transit is going to be impacting the 12 rising signs. So definitely get comfortable, pull your chart out, and let's get down to business. And we'll talk about what this new moon is going to be bringing for all of us. Now, every month we have a new moon. This is when the sun and the moon come into conjunction with one another, and it creates this like reset. So they have to align in the same sign. Last month we had a new moon in the sign of Gemini. Now we're moving on to Cancer. So this will be creating a fresh new start in the Cancer area of your horoscope. So you have to look at which house that is. That's where you get the new beginning. You'll be working on this for the next 2 to 4 weeks, but it'll take 6 months for this to turn into a full moon in Cancer at the beginning of 2026. And you know, when the new moon comes together, it's almost like the moon is invisible, and that's because it's going to be tucked between the Earth and the Sun. So this is where it begins its waxing cycle. Spiritually, this is a time where we're planting seeds, we're focusing on intentions, we have dreams and goals, and we're getting quiet and we're getting ready to build something new. So think of it as hitting a refresh button in that particular area of your chart. Now, Cancer is the 4th sign of the zodiac. It is cardinal, which means it's action-oriented. It's water, which means it's emotional and intuitive. And obviously, it's in its home sign. So being that it's going to be in its domicile definitely makes it extra potent. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and this is like the zodiac that is associated with nurturing. So think of like, you know, a cozy home, a secure space, focusing on your emotions, something that's going to be safe and secure. And Cancer rules over things like property, family, roots, and inner security. So these might be some of the themes coming up during this particular new moon if you feel at home in that particular area of your chart. Now, it's a new moon that invites us to connect with our hearts and set intentions on emotional healing and really nurturing what matters the most to us. So I see this new moon as like a sacred moment, really to listen to our intuition and really focus on dreaming and tapping into our emotions so we can set intentions that really resonate with our soul. Now, this is a really interesting new moon because not only is it in Cancer, but we also see it at 4 degrees. So if you look at this chart, new moon, sun and moon together, 4 degrees, so it's a Cancer degree, 4, and it's conjunct Jupiter, which we could round up to about 4 degrees as well. So my, oh my, this is really, really, really emotional. I think that whenever I look at like a 4 in astrology, it's a sign that is really kind of connected to intentions or themes that are going to be connected to empathy, as well as the courage to feel safe and secure. And, it's going to be connected to amplifying some of this initiative and urgency in the Cancer area of our chart. So I see it as the universe being like, it's time now to start something meaningful. So the degree is going to spark some kind of like leadership in nurturing emotional endeavors. So for some of you guys, it's creating a home, it's healing relationships, maybe it's fostering community. But this is definitely off to a good start, having all of these kind of Cancerian energies that are all linked together with the degree astrology as well as the new moon in its home sign. Now, the Sabian symbol is what I'm going to read to you guys now. So if you guys are interested in checking out this book, Sabian Symbol, Screen of Prophecy, click my book list in the description below. All the books and the tarot decks that I use on the channel, I have linked there so you guys can follow along. We are seeing that, this is going to be a time where there can be some intense stuff coming up, just kind of foreshadowing that, reading the Sabian symbol before I even filmed this today. Remember that sometimes they are figurative. They're not always literal, okay? But sometimes they can be. So kind of take that with a grain of salt when I read this one for you guys. So we round up. I'm going to read 5 degrees because it's going to be 4 degrees and change. So this will be the Sabian symbol for 5. And this gives you like a little excerpt for each and every one of the 360 degrees in the zodiac, just to give us a little bit more context. Cancer 5 is an automobile wrecked by a train. Okay, so the keyword is dispersion. The theme is knowing when to stop. The symbol speaks to a compelling sense of urgency or obligation to complete or finish something that has been started or set in motion. In a broad sense, the symbol speaks to a desire to obtain closure. The image of an automobile wrecked by a train is another of the reverse symbols, and it dramatically illustrates the dangers of trying to rush things or bring any situation to a premature end. The earliest description of this image is a man in an automobile, maddened by the lust for speed, races with a fast train and loses, and he is killed. The emphasis in the symbol is on self-control, self-preservation, and the need to understand that at all times the ultimate obligation of any individual is to himself rather than the outcome of any objective. The seeker is ill-advised to continue any course of action to the point of self-annihilation. At its highest, it represents a remarkable talent for finding solutions to a difficult problem by reevaluating prior experience in terms of current needs. A tendency towards obsession can lead to recklessness or foolish decision-making. The accent is on rushing to finish or get things through. Your greatest advantage lies in knowing when to stop or when to take a break. Stay in control of the situation. Don't be pressured by artificial or self-created deadlines. Guard against endangering your health by living your life on the fast track or forgetting that your first obligation is to yourself. Stepping stones is haste, recklessness, carelessness, rashness, foolhardiness, negligence, short-sightedness, compulsion, and obsession. Interesting that that's the Sabian symbol, as it connects and correlates to, Jupiter wanting to suddenly expand, wanting something to happen quickly in a very broad, all-encompassing physical and emotional way. And then the square to Saturn, which is like the stop sign, especially in Aries, the delay, the speed bump, the boundary, the border that's warning against doing something too quickly. Okay. And that emotional impulse or reaction that we have, that's like, I got to do this now. And knowing when to listen to the intuition and use it as a gauge to better strategize how we move forward in a more timely, structured, mature manner. Or do we get so overcome by emotions that we kind of throw all caution to the wind and we go, it doesn't matter. We got to do this and we got to do it this way. And it's like very now, kind of like rigid and sometimes a little blind with Saturn conjunct Neptune. So interesting. In light of that particular Sabian symbol, yes, it sounds intense, but I think really what it's symbolizing is that there's a clash between personal freedom, the car, and the unstoppable kind of collective forces, the train. And that is also showcased between some of these squares between Aries, the individual, and Jupiter, which can be much more of like a collective sign. I see this as, in many ways, I think spiritually, a call to really align our individual path with larger cycles and maybe surrendering the ego, to really sort some of this stuff out. And at the time of the new moon, setting intentions that honor both your personal needs as well as stuff for the greater good, right? Finding balance, I think, is going to be the key. Now, the magic of this new moon, I think, is more so correlated to the fact that Jupiter is in Cancer. If you go back 12 years ago, we look at the last time Jupiter went through Cancer in 2013, we did not get the Sun conjunct Jupiter. That did not happen. So this new moon is right on the heels of the Sun having come into conjunction with Jupiter, which was a mere matter of hours, less than a day before the new moon. So as we were coming into the dark moon phase, the Sun hit Jupiter, which is touted as the luckiest day of the year. I think in this sense it actually is because Jupiter is exalted. But there have been this ongoing kind of square that's been happening really since the first 10 days or so of June. That those of you guys who are watching this at the beginning of June, you're going through the Sun square Saturn, Sun square Neptune, Jupiter square Saturn, Jupiter square Neptune. And you're going to look at this and you're going to go, ooh, there has been some challenges, there's been some delays, maybe there's been lack of vision, foresight, or even faith, and not feeling so optimistic. But in spite of that, I still think this is a very good moon. And that's because the moon isn't flying solo. So that conjunction to Jupiter between the Sun and the moon, we did not get 12 years ago. Now we get it. And it's going to happen right before the new moon. And obviously, we know Jupiter is going to expand whatever it touches, but it also deals with wisdom. It's also about abundance. And the fact that it's in its home sign, or I guess in its exaltation, is pure magic. So it's really going to amplify the energy of Cancer's energy. So it's going to feel like, I keep saying, it's like a fairy godmother, bringing in some kind of cosmic blessings and really helping us process some of our emotional dreams. So this new moon is a time to dream big. You have to look at the area of Cancer in your chart. That's where you're dreaming big and you're wanting to get comfortable, you're wanting to get cozy, you're wanting to be optimistic about the fact that even though there's been some challenges, these new opportunities are very possible. For some of you guys, it's going to be about home and family. Maybe it's inner peace or learning to just trust that the universe has your back. And the conjunction that we're going to see during the new moon that really starts the day before is going to be infusing optimism, faith, and also making it ideal for intentions revolving around healing, growth, or creating a safe space, literal or emotional. So I think with this great expansion comes a great deal of responsibility. That's a square to Saturn. And it's important to really stay grounded because of that square to Saturn. It's also important to avoid overly idealizing things because we're also going to see the new moon that's going to square Neptune. Now, if we look at a new moon, we see how a new moon unfolds over about 2 to 4 weeks, but really it takes 6 months for it to become a full moon. So we have this moment that's being seeded where emotionally we're feeling into these new things, learning how to overcome fear or maybe feeling isolated, separated, challenged, and in many ways feeling like we're incapable of feeling feelings or we're incapable of having this safe space. Well, 6 months from now, when we get to the beginning of 2026, this will become a full moon in Cancer. So this is going to show me, okay, after 6 months of having, worked on these intentions, planted these seeds, what is going to materialize? My goodness, guys, January 3rd, 2026, 6 months from now, we are going to have this full moon. And it will be taking place at 13 degrees. So it's interesting that this is an Aries degree. It is also going to be in a trine to the North Node in Pisces, which is good. Still by sign, it's going to be conjunct the Jupiter in Cancer transit, not nearly as close as it is during the new moon. But my goodness, look at this. The moon will oppose the sun, which is the full moon, but there will be a Mars cazimi happening in Capricorn. And we're going to see Venus, the sun, and Mars all be moving side by side as they're going to be making a triple conjunction the first half of January of 2025. Exalted Mars, lots of action revolving around Capricorn things, business, right? Revolving around our legacy, our professional lives, our governments, our leaderships. It's also going to be, I think, a really powerful time where things are really kind of amping up, where we feel like we have more control. Now, obviously, full moons, we see the polarity between two signs. So Cancer might be more mother, home, family, security vibes versus Capricorn, which is going to be about, our career, our reputation, and being out in the world. But nevertheless, the moon is still conjunct Jupiter, and we see a really strong stellium of planets in Capricorn, all making nice aspects to Saturn through trines as well as sextiles. And I feel like the moon conjunct Jupiter, especially in opposition to Venus, means that we may be able to have it all. We might actually feel like we can find more balance between our lives out in the world and what's going on the home front. So many things that are going to be happening. I'm just really excited to see this materialize. And I laugh that this new moon is square Saturn and Neptune in Aries, the sign of the self, where we need to get serious about our emotions and dreams for the future, especially in our private lives. And then we have a full moon at a 13, which is an Aries degree, and the Sun and Mars are conjunct, which is also a very Aries degree. We got to get tough if we're serious about the future. And when I say get tough, I don't necessarily mean physically. I mean like emotionally. You have to kind of toughen up a little bit. We need to listen to our emotions and hear what they're trying to tell us and realize that if we get stuck in the past, Cancer energy, we're not able to release or let go of the past, we're not really going to be able to see a new way forward. So many of us are going to be looking at ourselves, our home, our careers, our relationships in a very different perspective 6 months from now. And I feel like this can be a very, very powerful full moon. So I highly recommend setting intentions, overcoming the fear, being willing to kind of look beyond what's going on right now and plant long-term seeds for long-term results. You're not looking for results in the next 2 to 4 weeks. You want to see where you're going to be at about 6 months, okay? So let's look at the key aspects of this new moon, because I'd like to kind of unpack it a little bit, because my interpretation is never going to be a textbook, oh, the new moon is in Cancer, so therefore everybody is buying a house. Not with the squares to Saturn and Neptune, at least. But certainly it's about being comfortable and at home in that area of your chart. So you got to look at which house it's in. But the aspects are going to paint a picture, and they're going to tell me what the next 6 months are going to kind of look like and feel like, and how some of these intentions are going to come about. So we know the new moon is a powerhouse because of this conjunction that's taking place. But something else that I would kind of say about this is that this is almost like a cosmic family reunion. The sun, moon, and Jupiter all in conjunction can feel very positive, very fertile, very abundant, very optimistic. So setting intentions about what you could have, what is possible, the best case scenario, especially when it comes to relationships or self-care or anything that is just going to be very heartfelt, that's what I want you to focus on in that particular conjunction. Now that square is within about, 2 to 3 degrees of a square to Saturn as well as Neptune in Aries. So this goes without being said, right? If you have any planets 0 to about 5 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, you're feeling the squeeze of this. Many of you guys are actually feeling this from the time that Jupiter and Saturn have been squaring since like June the 9th. But we know that Saturn is discipline and Neptune is dreams. So when we see this square, there's tension between emotional security, right, Cancer, and also bold independence, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Saturn wants accountability, while Neptune wants to be idealistic about the visions. It is possible that we can blend sensitivity and intuition with commitment and be able to kind of see a new future when it comes to the Cancer area of our chart. I feel like, this is going to bring lots of competition in the housing market. We're going to see people who are going to have inner doubts about what they can accomplish, what they can grow, what they can do, at least on the home front, and realizing that not everything is black and white, that we have to actually balance our heart with action, and we want to really kind of steer clear of illusions. Now, I think in the new moon context, this is also going to be about taking practical steps forward when it comes to our vision, right? Saturn and Neptune is realistically, what can I do? Learning not to doubt ourselves, learning to be a little bit more willing to take action rather than kind of staying complacent and being in a place where we're like, well, this is what I've always done. This is what's easy. Because actually doing that is going to stall us. And I think that this is just making it a critical moment really for grounding our emotional dreams and setting the stage for 6 months of being able to kind of work with that tension to produce something that's new. Now, another aspect that you're going to see that is the most exact aspect is going to be that the new moon is going to sextile Mars in Virgo. Now, if you guys are watching this early in June, Mars is not in Virgo yet. It will be soon. But by the time the new moon rolls around, Mars is moving through the mutable earth sign. So this basically means that, the sextile is supportive. We're seeing a 60-degree angle between the two. If we set intentions and we get active, we get organized, we get healthy, we get cleaning, we get busy, we can get things done. So I do feel like this is going to be energizing your intention with precision, Mars in Virgo, service, and the willingness to kind of jump into something. So we'll feel like we're planting seeds in a well-tended garden. Small intentional steps will lead to big growth over the next 6 months. All we have to do is just focus on practical actions that support our dreams. Could spell out actually good news for people who are involved in the service industry, especially connecting to real estate agents. It could be connected to home cleaning services, people who are going to be doing landscaping, people who are going to be doing building, developing, services relating or revolving around home and families. As many of you guys have heard me say, I do think Jupiter in Cancer is going to be a baby boom. So if you work as a night nurse, if you work in childcare, if you are working in anything that's about supporting homes and families, I think many people are actually going to be quite busy after this particular new moon. Now, what's interesting to me, and I think aside from the Jupiter conjunction, is that the sun and the moon conjunct sextile Mars, right? So we see that sextile, but it also creates an inconjunct to Pluto. So this is going to be a yod or a finger of fate that is setting up, making Pluto the focal point of this particular yod. So you have to have two planets that are inconjunct or quincunx one. In this case, we have three. And they're going to be making that aspect to Pluto. That is very potent. This is a very awkward kind of angle, but still, nevertheless, I feel like that yod is about a fateful moment, something that's being seeded that was meant to happen. And Pluto being the focal point in this configuration really points to transformation through collective ideals, right, in Aquarius. Mars and the new moon are urging action and nurturing, but Pluto is demanding us to surrender to old patterns for a higher purpose. It's a call to evolve emotionally while serving the greater good. So my goodness, all of this kind of happening, it's like, well, we all have to kind of make the necessary changes and transformations when it comes to our emotional habits, our home, our family, when it comes also to our role, our commitment, our involvement maybe in participating more or doing more when it comes to our communities. Remember, Saturn is directly connected to Mars. And so Saturn and Neptune could have some individuals going, you know what, I'm not going to wait for people to go and pick up trash on the beach. I'm going to do it myself. Or I'm not crazy about some of the stuff that's been going on in the neighborhood. So we're going to kind of take turns. We're going to patrol. We're going to keep an eye on the local, homes and families. People who are going to start taking action and they're going to say, I want to create a better environment. I want to create a better community. I want to make sure that this home space in place is safe and protected. And so I do think that even though Mars and Pluto are some of the bad boys of astrology, obviously we see conflict, war, we see violent situations. People are going to look at this and they're going to go, well, it does make sense to serve and protect our communities in some way. And yes, it seems radical, Pluto and Aquarius. It seems majorly transformative, and some people are going to be very much against it. But in reality, this is necessary and needed, I think, to clean up Mars and Virgo and also better protect and help grow emotional security at home. New moon and Jupiter in Cancer. So that new moon just being quincunx and in conjunct Pluto in its own right, I think is really kind of saying that we need to adjust our emotional goals to align with collective changes. And, maybe you want personal security, but you're feeling that society is shifting and we're trying to figure out, do we adapt or do we make a different change? Now, in the background, we see Mercury also in Cancer. So this is a stellium of planets that are going to be in Cancer, which is a high focus on that area of your chart. And Mercury is the mind, communication, business, travel, transactions, and it is connected to the South Node. Now, it is sextiling Uranus and Taurus, so we see another kind of easy 60-degree angle. And what this is doing is it's basically boosting intuition, right? Mercury in Cancer, communication, and obviously Uranus is at a critical 29 degrees. So this is a karmic turning point. There is something finalizing and wrapping up and completing about that transit, perhaps sparking innovative ideas about money and stability. So I think that many people are going to have sudden insights about their home, about their resources, about security, banking, and land. And Uranus at 29 degrees, it's got this kind of culmination that's taking place. So likely we will also see over the next 6 months, as we go through this new moon phase and Uranus goes into Gemini, big changes in how we value security are coming. Now, unfortunately, Mercury does make a hard aspect to another planet. It is within a 2-degree orb of a square to Chiron in Aries. So we are going to see that this particular square is bringing up with the South Node connection what we need to release and let go of, what we have done in the past that's not working. Maybe it's highlighting wounds that are coming around, self-expression or identity. And some of us might actually feel a little vulnerable in sharing our emotions, but healing will come through honest communication and speaking your truth, just doing it in a gentle way. And I think we can do that with Mercury in Cancer, pretty soft-spoken, even though it's going to definitely be communicating what it wants to protect and what it needs. That sextile to Uranus means that we can make the emotional and the physical changes necessary to support that growth with the new moon in Cancer in our chart. And then finally, we're going to see Venus in Taurus coming into a trine with the South Node in Virgo and a sextile. So here's the trine and a sextile with the North Node in Pisces. So we're seeing the South Node being about the past, letting go of being maybe nitty gritty or focusing on perfection or things that are not serving us. And then Venus in its home sign sextile, the North Node in Pisces, makes us more emotional, sensitive, relatable, right? And it makes things a little bit easier. So we'll see opportunities for love and abundance because, Venus is harmonizing with the South Node's past lessons, and it's also harmonizing with the North Node, which is about our destiny. And many of you guys will find that this will actually support grounding relationships in practical service while dreaming big spiritually. So it's going to feel like we're building something stable that really aligns with where we are going. All right. That's pretty much everything in terms of the aspects. I would love to give you guys just a couple maybe recommendations for how to work with this new moon. Obviously, Cancer is a water sign, so you can't go wrong by doing a home clearing or a home cleansing, scrubbing the floors, saying a prayer, taking a bath, going and being by water, maybe spending some time by the beach, or just taking time to purify and protect your space. Equally, you can work with stones or herbs or oils that are associated with Cancer. I love jasmine when I'm working with Cancer, so I like to do like jasmine incense or oil. That's one of my personal favorites. I also like to work with frankincense or myrrh. One of those two can work really well for purifying and protecting your space. In terms of crystals, I like to work with moonstone when I'm working with Cancer. I also like to work with white opal. I also like to work with clear quartz to magnify things. Pearl can be great as well. So you guys can wear these, put them on an altar. You can carry it in your pocket or in your purse. And that's pretty much it. So those are the recommendations that I have for gemstones, oils, crystals, herbs, and that kind of stuff. But when I have a new moon in Cancer, I mean, it's kind of opposite, kind of Libra rising, but I do like to clear or cleanse my home. And usually what I'll do is I'll take some hot water, a nice pinch of sea salt, some Florida water, some fresh lemon, and I will also like pray or kind of bless, the water, open up all the doors and windows, and I will sweep or vacuum from the front door out the back door, burn my incense, and then I will mop the floors. And that's generally what I will do. And I think because Jupiter is a planet that deals with religion, it deals with spirituality, it deals with cleansing and emotional cleansing, baths, cleansings, baptisms, any of that stuff, really, really, really great during this particular transit. Do not sleep on it. All right, let's get into where this new moon is going to be taking place for the 12 rising signs. I'm just going to give you guys some insight into that and what might be manifesting for you. I'm a Western astrologer. I like to use the whole sign system. So to make the most of my predictions, you guys are going to want to listen to your rising sign first. That's going to tell you exactly what house and what area of your chart you're going to be experiencing this new moon opportunity. It's a moon, so listen to your moon sign as well. That can really tell you what you need to know emotionally, especially with this particular new moon in Cancer because it's in its home sign. If you don't usually listen to your moon prediction, definitely listen to it. And I would also say listen to your sun sign if you want to know what you need for your overall happiness, joy, and vitality. Likely you'll see something that's going to kind of come through for all three signs, but start with your ascendant first. Now, if you like to use the Placidus housing system, I know I do, that's fine. You might have to listen to more than one rising sign, but this is going to be taking place at 4 degrees of Cancer. So you're going to need to see which house exactly is 4 degrees at. And special, note if you're anywhere between 2 or 5 degrees of Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, this new moon is right on one of your personal planets or placements, and Jupiter is there as well. So what a beautiful moment for you guys. And I would say 0 to 5 degrees of the cardinal signs. Once again, you guys are going to be really feeling and kind of being impacted by this new moon, which might be either opposing or squaring you. So definitely pay attention to some of those growing pains. I know we talked a lot about that during the video that I put out on Tuesday on the Jupiter-Saturn square. And I do touch on this in the horoscopes as well. So if you guys want more information about that, check out the June horoscopes, okay? So let's get personal. Let's talk all about the new moon in Cancer. I'm going to focus more on just where the new moon is. Take into consideration Jupiter is there. That's where the goodies are going to be. And yes, you are still seeing some squares that are going to happen to Saturn and Neptune, but you're working with that tension throughout the next 6 months to make your dreams a reality. Definitely check out astro.com. If you don't know your natal chart, you can plug in your birth information and you can find it for free online, or you can book a reading with me. Click the links in the description. Head over to my website at Beyond the Veil Tarot. All right, so we're going to start with themes and predictions and some tips to make the most of this cosmic moment for you guys. And we're going to start with my Aries and my Aries rising. What's up, Aries? You're going to be doing this new moon in Cancer in your natal 4th house. And so you know by sign, you have already been seeing some of the themes since June where you are reevaluating and rethinking what new things are coming into your life when it comes to your 4th house of home. Okay, so being that this is a new moon where the moon's in its home sign and house, it's conjunct Jupiter, it's squaring Saturn and Neptune in your first. My intentions here would be, as an Aries moon, emotional roots, right? Where am I going to feel at home? Where am I going to feel the most secure? And maybe you're reevaluating home versus something about your personal identity. Perfect if you're looking for a new home over the next couple weeks or months, if you're building a home, if you're moving into something new, if you're selling something, redecorating, if you're traveling, if you're trying to find a home. And I predict for many of you guys that a move or a family project really could expand your sense of home. Watch for self-doubt or impulsive actions with those planets in your first house. That may challenge you. And I would say, as a tip, set intentions for a nurturing space. Ground big dreams with practical steps to avoid overreaching. All right, so let's see what the cards say for my Aries and Aries rising for the new moon in Cancer in your 4th house. The card that I get is the Queen of Coins. Great card for you guys, especially when it comes to feeling grounded, stable, and money. Now, this can be some assistance that you're getting from a Taurus, a Capricorn, or maybe even a Virgo. Obviously, Mars, your ruling planet, is in the 6th house, so maybe it means that you're really ready to tackle a home project. Maybe you're able to hire somebody. Maybe you're finding a real estate agent. This card says that it is all about being generous, caring, nurturing, a homebody, practical, sensible, good business sense, comforting, welcoming, and it's about luxury. So what's interesting is that this can mean that your mind is on your money, but it's also on home and resources. So it's like, what can I spend? What can I afford? You know, where am I to get the most bang for my buck? Could also mean that there is some assistance that's coming in from a woman that can be helping you. So it could be some wealth or abundance is maybe coming in from a family or from selling a property and you're navigating some of these things with a good business mindset. I'm not surprised with Saturn and Neptune involved in this square. You're taking your time to find the right place for you. So let me know what happens, Aries. What an exciting new moon for you. All right, we got Taurus and Taurus rising. Taurus, you're going to be doing this new moon in the sign of Cancer in your natal 3rd house. And this is a house that is directly connected to communication for you, okay? So if you're wanting to start launching a new media project, if you're wanting to learn something new, if you want to book a trip, if you're looking for a new car, if you are wanting to launch a YouTube channel, start a new newsletter, these are the kinds of things that you would do under a new moon in the 3rd house. Something to think about, okay? And you know this because you have been following some of the squares to Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house, is that part of what's been going on for you is that you have been moving through some stirring of emotions, let's say. And maybe there's been some hidden doubts or hidden fears that have been kind of coming up for you. And you're really saying to yourself, okay, how do I have this conversation? How do I write this book? How do I share this knowledge or information? And I think that it's possible that a heartfelt conversation or a writing project could actually gain some traction. However, you're going to have some subconscious doubts that might surface. I really recommend, and as I've said in my other videos, set intentions with this new moon to just start getting your ideas down. Start writing them down, create some maybe audio notes. Maybe you need to go on a short distance trip or something to kind of get your mind at ease, and start taking some time to start communicating more positively, thinking more positively, sharing more positively. Obviously, Jupiter is going to be connected to your allies, okay? So if you want to start a new newsletter, if you want to share information on what you're working on or what you're kind of doing behind the scenes with your audience, if you want to communicate and tell your friends or people in the community about what you want to work on, you can start doing that. And that's because of Jupiter's connection here and the connection to your 8th house, which deals with change and transformation. Also, I would say, use Mercury's sextile that's kind of happening to Uranus in your sign to your benefit. Like, this could help you really have some innovative ideas, and also work through some of these feelings of being kind of stuck with having Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house. Okay. All right. So, and I think that especially if you're an early degree Taurus, some of those sextiles are actually quite beneficial for you in terms of the transits, as is Venus in your 1st house, trine the South Node in the 5th. Creativity, love, romance, self-expression should come very easily to you now. The card that I get is the 3 of Coins. Love it, especially because Venus is sextile the North Node in your 11th house. Venus is trine the South Node in your 5th house. You don't have to do things alone. And I think a lot of this is going to be about getting the word out and communicating either with family, with your community. It could be with people online, and just sharing your ideas and getting some feedback. As we know, the 3 of Coins is about a team effort, working together. Teamwork, shared goals, collaboration, apprenticeship, effort, and also pooling your energy. Share what you're wanting to work on, share what you're doing, get feedback, and have support from other people. And you're going to see, just by overcoming the doubt of putting yourself out there, you're going to gain more traction. You're going to have better communication and also be a little bit more optimistic in the process. So good luck, Taurus. Let me know how this new moon plays out for you. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You guys are going to be doing the new moon in Cancer in your natal 2nd house, which is going to deal with personal possessions, money manifestation, your self-esteem, your goals, anything revolving around resources. That's really what the 2nd house is going to be about. So I feel like for many of you guys, what you're going to find is going to be kind of manifesting is that this is a time where you're like, okay, I need to set some new intentions when it comes to my money and my resources, whether it's going to be about budgeting, whether it's going to be about bringing in more money, whether you're coming up with a spending plan, whatever. The theme will be financial security. However, the conjunction to Jupiter tells me you could bring in a lot of clients. You could bring in some kind of wealth from a business partner. You could bring in some kind of wealth from a spouse. Maybe there's more money to be able to, invest because of something that's coming from family relationships and things like that. Only catch here is that you are going to see that this is going to square Saturn and Neptune in your 11th. So there's a lot of like you going, how do I feel about my finances, security, and resources? Maybe my goals are changing. Maybe I'm more focused on what's best for me emotionally or my family or my kind of resources. And I'm not comparing myself so much to other people. So I do think that many of you guys are going to find that there will be an opportunity for you to kind of bring in new resources, especially over the next 6 months. Working with new partners, working with professional or romantic collaborators can be beneficial. Maybe you're going your own way. I don't know. But when I think about Mercury, because Mercury is your ruling planet, Mercury is going to be making a sextile to Uranus. So you might have like a breakthrough, you might have a bright idea. It is also possible that with Mars kind of going through Virgo and it's sextiling from your 4th to your 2nd house, you're taking practical steps to make changes on the home front. And maybe you're avoiding like overly committing to things home or family wise. You're like, maybe we actually can, move, or we can clear out the house and get rid of some old stuff and bring some new things in. So it's going to be tied, I think, to like a lot of like home property, domestic stuff for you guys as well. Okay. Watch for that group tension that can arise with some of the squares to your 11th house. I would say do not be comparing yourself to other people. That's definitely a huge, huge theme, and use this as your money manifesting opportunity, right? And how you feel about what you're bringing in. All right, so the card that I got for you guys is the 3 of Swords, which is not a good card for what should be a very positive new moon, but stay with me here. I feel like part of what's going on is going to be you're getting kind of tripped up in the square, maybe more than some other signs. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the 3 of Swords deals with working through some kind of situation where there's heartbreak, or maybe there is some sadness, there's some grief, some sorrow, and you're letting something go. But with the 3 of Swords, you have to pull the swords out in order to kind of tend to the wound, right? So the feeling that I'm getting is perhaps this has a connection and a correlation to Uranus getting ready to come into your sign. You're evolving, you are changing. You are going to be finding that you're changing your mind more so than usual, or that you're needing to break through. And that breakthrough might mean you're willing to go your own way if there are some changes with friendships. After all, Saturn and Neptune are in your 11th house. Certain friends that you've been friends with for a while, you might feel like you're outgrowing. Certain people who used to be friendly are not as friendly anymore. And maybe you're feeling like you're looking for a new friend group. Certainly the new moon square this can bring up for many of you guys, like, who am I if I don't have a social connection, or if so-and-so is not my best friend anymore, or if something is not necessarily changing. Remember that what the, heart grieves over losing, the soul rejoices. So you might actually find that people who you thought you were really strongly connected to, or groups, associations, even old goals that you had for yourself, you might realize, I'm outgrowing that. I don't value that anymore. Or, you know what, I'm not going to let that change in my friendship or not belonging to a certain group make me feel like I'm not good enough. And so the growth will actually come from taking a step away from some of those things, and that's going to build your self-esteem and also in turn, I think, positively impact your finances. But you have to go through that growing pain. So let me know what happens, Gemini. Obviously, I'm curious to know how that correlates. Cancer and Cancer rising, this is your new moon, especially if you have anything 3, 4, 5 degrees of Cancer. Extra special for you guys. New moon, new you get one once a year. So this is going to be in the 1st house of self. So really it's all about you. Now the new moon is conjunct Jupiter, which is directly tied to your 9th house, which is about travel, faith, belief system, as well as your 6th house of health, habits, and routine. So clearly, some of you guys are going to be craving, I want to learn more about health. I want to learn more about fitness. I want to travel. I would like to go back to school and learn, a new trade, or get training or certified in new skills. That may be coming up for you as well. Jupiter conjunct this new moon means that it's very positive for you in terms of growth and expansion. Whether that's philosophically, travel-wise, health-wise, that's what's baked into it. However, it is square Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house. So a lot of you guys are trying to stay positive and optimistic amidst major career changes, retirement. Maybe some of you guys are starting your own business. Some of you guys have more responsibility. And you're seeing that there is lots of career demands that are happening. And so you're trying to be positive and optimistic about it, but it's a heavy weight. So I predict for my Cancer risings that this new moon is really a personal glow up, right? That's what I think. So if you want to change your body, change your hairstyle, change something about your appearance, you got 6 months to work on it. However, making these changes amidst, what can be a grueling schedule, lots of work responsibility, a boss that can be a little difficult to deal with. You're trying to embrace some of these changes and be positive. And I think some of you guys might also develop or come into some kind of like a leadership role where you shine, where you're either leading, somebody at work, or you're teaching, or you're training people. Also, watch your professional pressure, which may test your confidence. I would say to navigate this, set intentions for authenticity. Obviously, kind of lean into, the fact that Jupiter is going to be positive, but there is a need for you to be a little bit more disciplined and focused when it comes to your career. So you're going to have your career game face, and then you're going to have the things that you're doing that's probably going to keep you balanced. And I think a lot of that is going to be about fitness or travel or education. So you feel like you have a bit of a reprieve from the intensity that's coming from the work or the professional life stuff. Okay? All right, Cancer, let's see what the cards say for you for this new moon in your sign. The card that I get is the Eight of Cups. Interesting that there's a couple bittersweet cards already so far. So the Eight of Cups talks about what you're moving or walking away from. And so this could be about abandoning, walking away from something, letting go, searching for truth, leaving something behind. Is that not very Jupiter in the first house? I definitely think it is. I could see this as like going, okay, well, I'm finally retiring, now I'm no longer tied to what I do for a living. So what do I do now, right? I'm going to go and figure out what my purpose or what my bliss is, or I'm going to travel, right? And like leaving an old identity behind. For others, it could mean that you're so determined and so focused to make your own way, to be successful, to, really kind of shine in a new role or be successful in a new career path that, you're so determined that you're just like, I just have to be full steam ahead. I can't look back. I have to keep moving forward. I have to keep things going. And I think that all the cardinal signs are going to feel this, to be honest with you, in a very big way. Because you're going to be feeling like there's expansion and contraction. And like I said in my previous video, even though Saturn is not in a sign it performs well in, it's in its fall, Jupiter, I think, is going to have more strength, even though Saturn's in a superior square. So I want feedback from Aries and Cancer. If you guys can let me know at the end of the month how you're feeling with this, because I think Jupiter will definitely overcome, and it will be in a position where even if you have to make some cuts and some sacrifices and walk away from things, you're going to look at it like, okay, here's the silver lining, or the glass is half full. You're not going to be so negative about, taking on these changes or making these sacrifices or walking away from things. You're going to try to kind of keep optimistic about the path forward. Anyway, I hope that's helpful, Cancer. Let me know what happens. All right, we've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? How's it going? You're going to be doing this new moon in Cancer in the 12th house, which is a very private, spiritual, behind the scenes, resting, recuperating type of vibe. So this is a period of time where planets are going through your 12th house right before you come into your birthday season, when we go into Aries and we go into Leo season. So, this is a new moon that is about introspection. This is a new moon that is really about healing versus expanding in your beliefs. Now, Jupiter is going to be about children, creativity, self-expression, romance. It's also about change and transformation. So many of you guys are going through a majorly soul transformative time because you're in another country, or because you're traveling, or because you're studying, or because you're focusing more on the closeness with your family or with your kids, or intimacy matters, and you're kind of just like taking a step back. For some of you guys, it means that you're quite literally saying, I'm going to the spa, I'm going to the therapist, I'm healing, I'm soaking, I'm meditating. So spiritual practices can be very beneficial at this time. And Leo, you're ruled by the sun. So to have a new moon, that's important for you. But also with Jupiter being there, you're about to receive some kind of spiritual download or gift. It can be a significant romantic connection, a creative project. It could also be some good news revolving around a child or children. So I really predict for a lot of you guys that if you can navigate this tension between healing versus expanding your beliefs, then you can find that around the time of the new moon, a spiritual practice or a retreat, it deepens your intuition. It brings you closer to your spiritual kind of higher self. Maybe you feel like you're having to take a step back from limitations and things you have always believed in, and it's a time to make a change. So meditate on emotional goals. Maybe use some of what's going on with the yod because it is impacting you, because the sun, Jupiter, and the moon are pointing to Pluto, and it's saying that some of this introspection can bring major transformation in the way that you look at your relationships, right? In the way that you look at your allies, in the way that you look at your values, and also money. So other people are going to be showing you that or giving you insight. Great time to be getting a reading. And I would say release old fears and things that just don't align with you, because that's what you want to do in the 12th house. All right, this card jumped out while I was talking to you. I got the Three of Cups. Okay, so with the Three of Cups, this is a very positive card. It's about emotional, kind of highs. This can be about friendship, community gatherings, celebrations, group events, and social events, which is kind of odd because, well, the 12th house isn't a very social house. The 12th house is more, okay, I'm taking time to kind of be with myself and collect myself and reflect on what I need to kind of let go of. However, I think what this is really highlighting is the fact that Mercury, which is your 11th house lord, is sextiling Uranus, and Mercury is about to come into your sign. So you're going to find that even though you want, your downtime and your private time, there's going to be a lot of busyness going on. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to socialize. Maybe there are some beautiful new things happening in your life that's very private and near and dear to your heart, but you're getting ready to share it with your friends, with your family, with the collective, and letting people know some of the insights that you have had while you've been taking time to kind of rest and recuperate. So I hope it's a good one for you guys. I hope that you kind of work through some of these squares in a positive way. And I hope that it shapes things for you guys in terms of your belief systems that can help you believe again and be a little bit more optimistic. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys are going to do the new moon in Cancer in your natal 11th house, which deals with your friendships, your communities, your networks, and anything connected to your goals. Now, when you have a new moon in the 11th house, it's basically saying it's a really potent time for wishes. So setting intentions revolving around your goals or your wishes with family, with friends, right? Anything in regards to, well, Jupiter rules relationships and home. So if you're like, I want to hang out with my friends more, the next 6 months. I want to do more community, kind of events. I'd love to go and set up a family reunion. I would love to spend more time with, my partner and my friends. I want my family to meet my partner. Maybe you want to meet someone. This is definitely a really good transit to kind of set those intentions. However, the new moon is going to be squaring Saturn as well as Neptune in your 8th house. So really what's going on here is that there's things revolving around new opportunities when it comes to your community and the dreams that you have about the community that you want to create versus the need for deep introspection and I think transformation. Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house. So for my Virgo and Virgo risings, I'm seeing this as like a group project can definitely spark growth. And with the sun, moon, and Jupiter being in the 11th house, it could be a project at work, it could be a community project, a family affair, something going on at work. But some of the themes that are going to come up are like shared resources or fears can create tension. So it's like, well, how do we pay for this event? How are we going to fund it? How are we going to find ways to bring in more so that way we can kind of keep this ball rolling as Jupiter stays in your 11th house for the next year. I like that Mercury is in a sextile to Uranus. I feel like it's great for traveling and organizing social, things, going to places, see friends, organizing travel where you can bring friends or family along. So we want to set intentions for collaboration. That's really what we want to do with this particular new moon. I love Mars in your 1st house. I think it's very action-oriented and dynamic. It's certainly boosting your confidence, Virgo. And I feel like this is about acting decisively and compassionately. And if you look at Mars on your ascendant, sextiling Jupiter and the new moon, it forms a yod to Pluto in your 6th. So, groups and friends can help you make changes to your health and habits, right? They can hold you accountable. They could work out with you. They could, encourage you. But also working as a team and being kind of direct and taking action can help you make major strides and changes and transformation in the workplace and help you kind of overcome this. And really you want to lean into the team effort kind of vibes to make the most of some of the aspects. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see What card comes up for my Virgos and Virgo risings? Yeah, I'm seeing it both ways. You got it both ways. And I didn't even see that until now. But there's also one that's going on with Saturn and Neptune to Pluto and Mars also. So my goodness, Virgo, that Mars transit is like now or never. And what is Mars for you? Communication, speaking out, changing the way that you communicate and share with other people. The card that I got is the Hierophant, which is a card that deals with Taurus, by the way. And maybe that's like Venus in your 9th house that's trining your South Node. That's basically saying you're traveling, you're learning, you're getting guidance, you have mentorship, you have somebody that's teaching you something. But the Hierophant's a major arcana card. So when this comes up, it's all about tradition, social groups, what's conventional, conforming, education, knowledge, and beliefs. I would say that I look at this and I go, well, you're going to be reevaluating like what has worked for you in the past and whether or not you stay the path of doing things the same way or if you're going to make a change. And whether or not you feel like some of your emotional or social connections are fulfilling. Like, is it fulfilling or not? And if it's not fulfilling, then you're realizing and recognizing, okay, maybe it's time to make a shift in my goals, who I'm making friends with, what kind of groups I'm being a part of, and whether or not I'm surrounding myself with people who are really going to make me feel supported. But nevertheless, Sun, Jupiter, in the 11th house might be a time where there's a great party or family affair that's kind of setting up. So let me know what happens with that new moon, Virgo. We got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? You're going to be doing this new moon in Cancer in your natal 10th house, which is all about your career and also your reputation. Libra is conjunct Jupiter that's also in this sign, and Jupiter deals with communication, learning, sharing, writing, and teaching, as well as anything connected to media or travel. Jupiter is also about scheduling and anything connected to work and service. So how much dedication and energy you're putting into communication at work, to what you're writing, to the emails you're sending, to the time that you're kind of putting into helping other people. And I think it's an interesting aspect. And as I said in the last video on Tuesday, for you in Capricorn, these energies are very strong. You've got planets in angular houses, especially if you're a Libra rising, that are kind of ricocheting all off of you. So, Jupiter in the 10th house is a year of career growth. The new moon is planting a seed saying, hey, we can grow new things when it comes to your career. It's the fact that you need to communicate and speak up, and also the squares to Saturn and Neptune and Aries, your opposite sign. So it's really going to be showing career growth and how that can be so sweet and so positive, even if you're feeling like you have some challenges with clients, with guidance, with therapists, with romantic partnerships, with spouses. Certainly Saturn and Neptune is its own situation in your 7th house. Some of you guys are longing for relationships while other people are kind of feeling like you're in a relationship, but you're not getting a lot of clarity, or they're lacking some sense of direction, or there could be some issues with transparency. So it's more for those of you guys who are having marital issues, and if that impacts your career, or if you're having issues with like a manager or a business partner, or lack of support to help you really grow in your career. All of these things can be kind of coming up. In spite of that, find balance between the two. Know that this is a new moon where if you want to start a new business, if you're wanting to look for a new job, if you're wanting to start new themes in terms of your professional life, all things are possible over the next 6 months. It might feel stunted at first, but it's going to take some time. Many of you guys will see a public role or a promotion could definitely appear in your path. The only key here is the relationship dynamics. They really need to be looked at, and you need to ask yourself, where do relationships need my attention, or where do I need to create boundaries with other people? My advice for you, Libra, is to set goals for professional impact, okay? And really use Venus, which is in Taurus in your 8th house, coming into a sextile with all these planets in your 10th house, to nurture partnerships, and also maybe ease some of the impact of Chiron wounds, because you may be just totally growing and succeeding in your professional life, but there can be either clients or partners or people who are feeling like they've been left behind. Anyway, let's take a look and let's see what the cards have to say for Libra and Libra rising. Of course, you get the Justice card. This is your card, Libra. I know you know this, and this is a card that is about balance, karma, law, responsibility, consequences, accountability, truth, honesty, integrity, and cause and effect. I got a lot of Libra rising friends in my life, and I'm a Libra rising. And something I have observed that's been pretty consistent across the board is a lot of us have been saying to ourselves, who we're working for or who we're working with, is this a good reflection of the path that I want to be kind of going down professionally? And if not, what new ventures, can we be kind of seeking out, or new partnerships, or just new jobs in general, new paths that may require us to break away from certain business partnerships or romantic relationships or whatever. And it seems scary because you want that support, but from an integrity standpoint, Jupiter going through the 10th house might mean, you know what, I have to speak my truth and we're just not aligning. And so there may have to be some kind of romantic or professional separation that needs to happen in order for you to be able to move forward with your career and also your reputation. That does not mean relationships have to end. It might mean that it's speaking your piece and it's speaking out and fairly and objectively, disagreeing if you need to make a public statement. And it could also mean this is a time where you're really weighing your options, asking yourself, is this partnership, is this relationship, or working with this company or working with this manager really going to get me to where I need to go? And I think that you're going to be asking yourself this for the better part of the next 6 months. So the only silver lining here really is you have the opportunity to create change. Simply all you need to do is just think about what it is you want to say, what it is you want to share. And obviously, if you're in travel, education, media, writing, any of those things, this can be a really big turning point for you where you have 6 months to really kind of make your mark. And I think you'll like the transits as you kind of get on through the rest of the year, that they're going to do well for your career. Just don't let relationships get in the way. Good luck, Libra. All right, we got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are doing the new moon in Cancer in your natal 9th house. And if you are, I would say 0 to 5 degrees of Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to have a trine, not only from the new moon, but also from Jupiter. So pretty fortuitous for my Scorpio risings. The new moon's going to be in your 9th house, where this is all going to be about, broadening your horizons. Anything revolving around travel, higher education, philosophy, publishing, teaching, legal matters, all of this stuff. Jupiter loves Cancer. Jupiter loves the 9th house. What chef's kiss of astrology is this for my Scorpio risings? The challenge here is that because Jupiter deals with money, your personal possessions, as well as children, creativity, self-expression, your philosophy revolving around whether or not you want to spend money on, traveling, on creative projects, on children, on romantic partners, it's shifting a little bit. And a lot of that's because this new moon and Jupiter are squaring Saturn and Neptune in your 6th house, where it's going to kind of touch on the themes of, well, I'm broadening my horizons, or I'm going to school, or I'm learning, or I'm traveling, but it's requiring me to kind of get real, get organized, get serious about my health habits, work, or daily routines. So I feel like for many of you guys, for Scorpio risings in particular, a trip, Jupiter, in the 9th house, some of you guys will be traveling, or you'll be planning a trip, or you'll be getting ready to go back to school, or you're embarking on a period where you're going to start teaching, or you're going to want to publish something. Good for legal matters, even though it looks like the squares to Saturn could take a little time. What you guys want to watch for, I think, is that these trines to your ascendant help you change and transform. And as I've said in previous videos, having come out of the square in recent months, it put a lot of things in perspective for me. I think Jupiter going through the 9th house taught me that I really have to keep an open mind. I have to be willing to learn new things. I have to get out of old, outdated ways of doing things. This might be, changing your philosophy about creativity, about hobbies, about love, about children, and your habits or their lack of are really going to define just exactly how much you can travel, how much you can expand, and what you can learn. So all of these things can definitely grow here. You got a sextile to Mars, your chart ruler. So there's going to be some action going on with groups, friends, or socializing, and they may play a role in some of these changes and transformations with what's going on at home. So I think some Scorpio risings are going to be traveling and hanging out with friends or seeing people in other places, and that may impact or influence where they live, or how they're going to tackle changes on the home front. All right, Scorpio, let's see what the cards have to say for you. You get the 9 of Cups. Wow. Well, first of all, if your goal here is to set intentions revolving around learning, right? New moon in the 9th. And you've got aspects to Mars in your 11th house of wishes. You can definitely see a lot of things that can go your way. This is the green light, get what you want, whatever you're asking for, wish card. So if you have dreamed of going on that fancy vacation, if you have hoped and prayed that you get the college application, that's accepted, if you were hoping that you finally get, your book published, you may get any of these things connected to the new moon. Granted, it may take some time, hard work, and dedication, but Nine of Cups basically means that dreams do come true, that you have contentment, that there is satisfaction, success, achievement, recognition, as well as pleasure. So does it get any better than this? No, it does not. Just give it ample time for it to unfold. Let me know how this plays out for you, Scorpio. We got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Saggies? New moon in Cancer. Yes, a sign that you don't always resonate with. It in conjuncts or quincunxes you. But Sagittarius, don't sleep on this new moon. It is conjunct Jupiter in its exaltation, and it's your chart ruler. So having a new moon in Cancer in your natal 8th house, obviously we kind of get into the realm of vulnerability, transparency, deep emotions, anything revolving around joint finances, resources, wealth, and mergers, okay? So just having Jupiter going through the 8th house, you're going to go through some changes. And those changes could be your partner comes into some money, you inherit something, you're going to therapy, you're more emotionally vulnerable than usual. I know, ick, but this is actually something that's really good for you. And I think that a lot of you guys are going to really find that this new moon is really what is the catalyst for change. I'm looking at Jupiter ruling your home life and your family life and also you. So the fact that the new moon's in the 8th, it's saying that the change that's going to come for your home and your family is going to be because of some joint resource, partners, money, inheritance, taxes, whatever. And that new moon is square Saturn. So I think a lot of Sag and Sag risings are feeling in June, okay, this is a big emotional shift or jump. What does that mean for me and my fun, or lack of fun or lack of creativity or lack of self-expression, or maybe now there's more responsibility revolving around children, dating, creative projects, self-employment, Saturn in the 5th house themes. So what's going to happen is deep transformation from this new moon is seated, and it's going to be challenging your kind of happiness, joy, or expression. However, I predict that there's going to be major financial and emotional breakthroughs that are going to unfold for you guys, big time. Creative risks might feel a little daunting. It might feel challenging, opening yourself up and being vulnerable, working with a therapist, dating, talking about childhood trauma. Any of these things can come up with this new moon. But if you set goals for healing, Jupiter and the new moon in your 8th house can definitely bring emotional healing and transformation. It can help you get in touch with emotions and things you've been afraid to show. I definitely feel like it will fuel passion projects. And with some of the other aspects that it's making in the sky, like the sextile to Mars, which could really incentivize you at work through banking, resources, investments, and loans, or the inconjunct or the quincunx to Pluto, where it's really saying communication, sharing what's on your mind, being vulnerable, and changes in the way that you communicate and connect. It can help you work through some of these issues with vulnerability and, feeling seen, right? But still, love a new moon in the 8th house. If you're going to invest, a good time to do it. Maybe Saturn and Neptune in the 5th house means you're learning about market cycles, you're learning about investments, and also you're getting serious about taking risks. All right, so let's see what the cards say for my Sag and Sag risings. I think some of you guys are going to be investing in education and travel as well, as the Jupiter-Sun conjunction is tied to your 9th house. Some Sag and Sag risings might be considering also like debt and loans for homes and housing. Some of you guys might be considering going and looking in a foreign land for a new home. Card that I get is the 2 of Coins, which I think makes sense because you're like, do I want to do this? 2 of Coins is about balancing resources, resourcefulness, adaptation, flexibility, stretching your resources. If the 5th house is going to be about taking chances and maybe taking risks and investing, the 8th house could be where you cash out. And certainly, big risk, big reward. But Saturn in the fifth house is like, no, I'm not going to take too many serious, like larger risks. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious and conservative. And you may be doing that because you're like, well, I need, liquidity to be investing or putting a down payment on a house, or maybe I'm going to be putting it into my retirement, something like that. So you're weighing your options. Probably what I would say, because Venus rules people who assist you, and Mercury is also going to be about like advisors. With Venus and Mercury in a sextile, it'll be a really good time for a lot of Sag and Sag risings to talk to people about investment strategy, to talk to people about, setting up a 401k, or if you're wanting to talk about your long-term retirement plans. If you're feeling indecisive, right, about which direction you go in with making some of these changes with some of the money that you have been saving, all right? Good luck, Sag. Let me know what happens. I got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, Cappies? You are going to be doing the new moon in Cancer, in your opposite sign in your natal 7th house of relationships. Capricorns, Capricorn risings, this is your moment to manifest new relationship opportunities. So those of you guys who are single, this is the one to set intentions for romance in relationships, bringing in new people. And if you're partnered, it's a time where you can go deeper in existing relationships and there could be renewal. Also great for launches, telling people what you're selling, what products you have, what resources you have, because the 7th house is your marketplace. Now, I think the challenge here is that obviously it's squaring you by sign. So it's opposing you. So it's your opposite energy where you're like all business and focus and there is commitment and a little bit more stern and mature. Cancer is soft, squishy, emotional, sensitive. So it will be bringing in people that are going to be different in their nature. Jupiter is going to represent communication. It's also about neighbors, siblings, maybe online exchanges, or your community. And it's also connected to the 12th house of what's hidden behind the scenes or private. So you're certainly going to feel like strangers are telling you things about themselves that you're like, whoa, why are you telling me that? Or you're having conversations with relatives where they're letting you in on insights and things you never knew. It could also mean that you're working with a new therapist, a new astrologer. There could be a new manager, a new business partner, or a new relationship that can be coming in. But it is squaring Saturn and Neptune, and Saturn is your chart ruler. So Jupiter is like the expansive new therapist, the partnership, the client, the business partnership that comes in that wants to nurture, wants to be together, wants to kind of build something solid and secure, but you're not sure, right? It's squaring Saturn in your 4th house of home. So what you're going to find is that relationships can grow, but there is going to be some like dealing with home or boundary or domestic or family root issues. And I'm predicting for a lot of Cap risings that, if it's an existing partnership, I think it will deepen. So some of you guys might find over the next 6 months, you're planning on getting married, you get engaged, you're talking about, long-term plans, and you're really communicating because Jupiter is involved. However, family tensions may surface with some of the squares to Saturn and Neptune in your natal 4th house. What you're going to want to look at is the fact that, throughout this next year, you are going to see Jupiter stay in this house. So even if it's like a bit of like a delay right off the bat with the new moon, come the fall, Jupiter is going to be trining Saturn and the North Node back in Pisces in your 3rd house. So there might be kind of smoother relationship stuff going on. You might feel like you've smoothed out some of the family relational issues. And I definitely feel like setting intentions for connection and just getting out, communicating, and talking to people is going to be a huge theme with the new moon in your 7th house. You really have to balance some of that energy, obviously, with, Aries more kind of independent, nature, or, wanting to kind of steer clear of people, wanting to stay home, wanting to do your own thing. You really want to get out and about and engage with people. And if it's not with people, it's going to be with a therapist, it's working with an astrologer, it's going to be being with a family member, hanging out with a romantic partner, and not getting stuck in the mud, being in the 4th house where you feel like emotionally a little trapped. Like I said, some of the stuff sounds a little difficult, but you're going to find that it's definitely going to get easier. And I feel like whenever planets are squaring Saturn, for you personally, it's like a growing pain. And so what you'll find is that if you are dealing with a family issue, a partner may actually be really supportive and beneficial, or a new therapist or a new astrologer could come in and they can kind of give you perspective and help you kind of work through some of these things. So do what you can to really focus on fostering new relationships. Just keep some of that home and family stuff a little bit in check. And obviously, the fact that this new moon is going to be making aspects to Uranus and Venus in this fifth house is great for sudden romance, opportunity, falling in love, meeting people. I think for a lot of you guys, this is going to be a very big turning point over the next 6 months in your romantic lives. All right, let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for Capricorn. Card that I get is the Strength card, which is associated with Leo, which is interesting. That is the sun. So changes and transformations in relationships, but this can also be pointed to things that are going to be happening in Leo season, July into August 2025. So the theme here is courage, bravery, confidence, compassion, self-confidence, and inner power in how you handle relationship dynamics, how you show up for other people. And in a love sense, this is basically saying like being more courageous and more passionate in relationships. And so you might find that that's very much the case with this new moon coming in, that people are going to be more adamant about communicating, talking to you, traveling with you, wanting to do things with you. And you'll go through periods where you're going to be like, no, I don't want to leave the house. And you're going to go through other periods where they're going to be like, come on, like live life. Let's go out and do something. And that can be a saving grace for you as you're kind of in the beginning process of this Saturn, Neptune in your fourth house transit. Get serious about where you want to live your private life and kind of putting down roots, and find that people will show up that will kind of fall into your lap that can help you make that dream a reality. Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to do the new moon in Cancer in your natal 6th house. Now, the 6th house for you is all about your habits, your health, your office space, your pets, your routine. So certainly it goes without being said, if you want to get back to the gym, you need to see the doctor, you need to take the dog to the vet, you want to get organized, you want to get healthy, you want to start prepping your meals again. Maybe you're looking for a new work or organizing your office, right? Any of these things are good under a new moon in the 6th house. However, this isn't a sign that in conjunction or quincunxes you. So just kind of like Sagittarius, you guys are like, what do I do with this particular new moon? And not only does it quincunx you, it in conjuncts Pluto on your ascendant, where you're going through a personal change or transformation, and it's going to be squaring Saturn, your traditional ruler, in Aries in the 3rd. Wow, Aquarius risings. Let me know how this goes. New moon in the 6th, squaring Saturn in your 3rd house of communication, where work and health is coming up, and you need to set new intentions there, especially in how some of your work or health routines impact you mentally or how you can kind of communicate, right? I think that's like a huge theme. I'm thinking and kind of predicting for a lot of you guys that a health or work project can grow. However, we can see miscommunications that can arise, scheduling issues, missed emails, phone calls, optimistic about being able to kind of get the team together, making everything possible. But certain people aren't, showing up to meetings, or they're not responding to some of your emails. And that can kind of agitate you with the inconjunct or quincunx to Pluto in your 1st house, where you really want to feel like you're in control and you're seeing everything through. Perhaps maybe a lot of this is, feeling your way into what schedules are working and not working for you emotionally. Where are you doing too much? Where are you overextending yourself? I would be setting goals to really focus on routine improvements and the emotional impact that that's going to have on you as well. Now, Mercury will sextile Uranus, so that's a saving grace. Uranus is your traditional ruler, and it's in your modern day ruler, and it's in your 4th house of home, where there's a lot of home changes, family changes, things going on. Perhaps maybe Mercury's sextile is going to give you the opportunity to have creative solutions where maybe you're working from home, or there's kind of assistance that's going on where you're fixing things in the home, or you're working on things with home and family. And also, I think this is going to be about recognizing with Mercury square Chiron, there can be a need to really address insecurities in how you communicate, how you work with people. And if there's any issues that you're having revolving around health or wellness, it's about communicating and like getting that out, getting ahead of it. Saying, you know what, rather than being like, oh, out of sight, out of mind, it's like, no, I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to do the physical. I'm going to get the results. I'm going to figure out what's going on. And I'm going to be optimistic about the ability to heal or improve some of these health issues or issues that you're having with your schedule or your fellow employees. It really depends on where you're kind of at with all of this. My thought is like definitely looking for new jobs, joining new gyms is really great. But I think a lot of this is going to be about where the improvement of being on schedule and being productive and being on time and sticking with it is going to do more than just improve your physical health. It's going to improve your mental health. And really kind of committing to that schedule, learning how to communicate and tell people where you can't go above and beyond because you have to stay consistent with that routine to really foster better emotional and physical health. And that's going to be the key. All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see. Man, especially with that sextile Mars in your 8th and that focal point of the yacht on Pluto on your ascendant, some of you guys are going to be like talking about detoxing, cleansing, healing, post-surgical things could be coming up for some people. I'm seeing a lot of Aquarius risings who have been dealing with that. Card that I got for you is the Sun, okay? So when I think about the Sun, I mean, the Sun is conjunct Jupiter, so some of you guys might find like you find the perfect job, the perfect doctor, the perfect kind of assistant. You'll have some kind of lucky something that's going to happen with this transit just leading up. But this is about happiness, success, optimism, vitality, joy, confidence, and truth. And that those are the most important things. Well, we know that the 6th house is about getting our own act together, getting healthy, getting organized, so we could meet other people. And the 7th house is ruled by the Sun. So I think a lot of you guys are like, I got to get things in order. I got to do what I got to do to kind of get situated and get work done, get health sorted out so I can spend more time with my partner, so I can be with my kids, so I can travel more, I can do more, I can create, I can have fun. Get business taken care of now. Get everything in order now so that way you can have more of that time in the immediate next couple of weeks. And I hope you guys are happy with some of the shifts that you're making because likely you're going to be very thrilled with some of the results that you get from getting back on track. Good luck, Aquarius. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are doing a new moon in Cancer in your natal's 5th house. And if you happen to be a Pisces sun, moon, and rising, the first 5 degrees, this is going to be a new moon and Jupiter, your chart ruler, which will trine you. So very, very sweet astrology for you. Now, a new moon in the 5th house is going to be about setting intentions revolving around creative projects, having fun, taking chances, dating, children, self-expression, being on stage, all that fun stuff. So it wants you to live life. It wants you to have fun. It wants you to experience joy. That is the name of the game. So whether you're getting back into dating, you're starting a new hobby, maybe you're wanting to launch your own business, or doing something creative from home, that is the emphasis. How personal is this for you, my Pisces and Pisces risings with a new moon conjunct Jupiter? It's saying you want to create, grow, or bring something into existence, whether that's a new relationship, a business, if you're trying to have a kid, or if you're wanting to get pregnant, it could be a time for that as well. It's a very fertile energy in your 5th house, dare I say that. The challenge here is that Jupiter doesn't just rule you, it also rules your career and your professional life. So for a lot of you guys, it's not kids, it's more, creative hobbies that I want to turn into a full-time gig, wanting to be recognized as somebody who's an artist or a creative, not necessarily just my 9 to 5. And therein lies some of the challenge because it is going to square Saturn in your 2nd house of resources and self-esteem, as well as Neptune, your modern day ruler, where there's some question revolving around, can I make it happen? Am I good enough? So what you're going to find is that, the new moon intentions in your 5th house is going to be about creativity and how to bring about better financial stability. So I think for you guys, the next 6 months or so is going to be a lot of like, okay, a passion project takes off, but budgeting is tricky. And, you're going to see periods where you're like putting money or resources into something, but are you getting anything out of it? It might mean also that you're really just trying to change your relationship to money and you're learning not to just spend because, you think that's going to bring you joy or happiness. Maybe you're realizing, hey, joy can actually come from spending time with my family, cooking a home cooked meal. It can be spending time with my kids, having something that you do creatively and not feeling like you have to have that urge to have more. Certainly Saturn and Neptune in the 2nd house is less is more. It's more of like a minimalist mindset and your resources and your values are definitely going to change. So watch the budget, definitely set intentions for joy, maybe lean into the fact that Venus is going to be sextile your north node and also trine the south node in Virgo in your 7th. And this might mean that there is something that is aligning you with being creative. Maybe it is saying, yeah, I'm going to avoid impulsive spending. I'm not going to buy things. I want experiences, right? I want to go on a weekend trip. I don't want to have a brand new handbag. I would like to be able to have more freedom in my day-to-day to be creative, and it's worth kind of giving up some of the splurges and things that I've been kind of indulging in so I can have more room for spontaneity and having fun. All right, so let's see what the cards say for you, my Pisces and Pisces risings. Card that I get is the Six of Swords, which I like a lot, actually, because I feel like Jupiter is very travel oriented. I think that this can definitely be about movement, getting from one place to another. Moving on, this is about departure, accepting lessons, and distance, and leaving something behind, but in a positive way. This is easier to navigate, I think, than the Eight of Cups. This talks about being in limbo. It's kind of like, okay, I'm not exactly where I used to be. I know where I want to go, but I'm not there yet. And so I think a lot of this is, well, what can I create? What can I do that's going to make me happy? And how do I get there? And so I think a lot of that is going to be the next 6 months. And for many of you guys, it might mean traveling. It might mean moving. It might mean moving on and saying, hey, it's time for me to find a new romantic partner, or it's time for me to find a new pastime, or, maybe it's not necessarily things. Maybe it's going to be experiences. And many Pisces risings, especially with eclipses in your first house, with Jupiter in your 5th house, a lot of you guys are going to become parents. A lot of you guys are going to get pregnant. And I think that a lot of you guys are going to realize that even though there is some responsibility that's going to come from this new growth or this new thing that you have to take care of, it's going to bring you a lot of joy. And that willingness to kind of say, hey, I'm going to get more serious about my expenses or my spending because I really want to spend time and I want to nurture, can be really great for you guys. And the process of the next 6 months with the Six of Swords is just realizing what's actually going to make you happy. Set intentions for joy, romance, creativity, children, all of those things, whatever the heart wants, and know that the full moon that's going to come in for you guys, I think, is going to be absolutely beautiful. Some of you guys are going to start to see some of these manifestations as early as the fall of this year. So let me know what happens. All right, guys. Well, that's what I have on this up and coming new moon in the sign of Cancer. Obviously, it is like a cosmic grab bag between the Jupiter conjunction and the Saturn Neptune squares. But I'm calling this like a celestial, call, to our heart's dreams, as long as we stay grounded in reality. Plant all of those seeds, especially if it relates to emotional abundance, trusting your intuition, and navigating the tension between security and courage. Definitely use the tips that I gave you for your rising sign to harness all that magic. And keep an eye on that Pluto yod, because I feel like that's going to be a pretty definitive collective turning point that's going to help all of us make the necessary changes. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What new moon intentions do you have? How are you making the most of this very potent, very positive Sun, Jupiter, Moon conjunction? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I can't wait to hear how this plays out for all of us and how this transpires into a very, very beautiful and powerful full moon in 6 months' time. Until next time, I will catch all of you guys very soon. And join me tomorrow if you want a live tarot reading. I'll be here 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll put the link in the description of the community tab, so make sure you're subscribed. And give me a thumbs up and share this video, okay? See you guys all soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.